fucking wife here, but like part of him knows that's not really her, and then how it turns out is that the Third Reich, wanting to get into the occult, has summoned this female demon that has the power to make themselves look like someone's lost loved one. And then when that happens, she seduces them and kills them. And so this Nazi, being the only person left in this area, needs the other guy's help in stopping this. So the two of them have to work together in order to stop this shape-shifting fucking succubus. I liked this movie. I really got into it. Overall, I would recommend this. If you're going along the video store and you just want to rent something you haven't heard of, something that might be interesting, I gotta say, like, when I put this movie in, I was expecting a very low-budget movie. And it is. It is that, but I was expecting something like Fast Zombies with Guns. But it's not. It's really, really not. I'm like, wow, this is going to be a really underrated horror film of this year. Now, it does have some cons to it. It certainly does. Like, honestly, a lot of the lesser moments in the movie are when the demon is on screen, because the two guys are a lot better than the girl character is. And she tries hard to be kind of intimidating, and they put this kind of exorcist voice to her, and she's really not. Like, the situation in itself is more suspenseful and intense than the demon is. So that's kind of a weak part of the movie. Like, it gets kind of corny towards the end, because she turns into this real, like, kind of stereotypical looking devil character with the black horns and the red skin and everything. That gets a little corny, but again, the other characters are so well acted that I was still invested in it, even though it got pretty cheesy towards that act. And throughout it, I kept thinking, like, well, it's nice that like the two of them are working together and whatnot, and the Nazi character himself isn't so much the villain anymore, but I'm like, he still did kill the other guy's partner, so you just gotta forget about that. But anyway, and also, what I would have really liked, and what would have turned a really good horror flick into an even better one, into an even creepier and scarier one. I would have really liked it if, honestly, there was a lot more characters. Because really, the demon is only fucking with the one guy. She's only turning into his wife. If we actually saw the massacre that happened before the two soldiers got there, like the guy with the rifle in his mouth, and the dude with his intestines around, and this character fucking with each of these and kind of playing them against each other and stuff like that, I think that would have been really interesting. And I know that, like, I know that, like, that in other movies it worked. It really works when they find a massacre and what you're picturing in your head is pretty scary, and you really don't think to yourself, like, wow, I would have rather have seen that movie. The Thing, for example. I didn't need to see a fucking prequel to that. John Carpenter's The Thing was perfect enough as it is. It isn't really the case with this. Like, this is a case where at least more characters would have helped it a little bit, because once it gets to about an hour into it, and it's only like an 80-minute movie, once it gets to about an hour into it, it gets a little redundant, because you are only with the same two characters throughout a majority of the movie. It does get a little redundant. Like, I mean, I was still invested into it, and these are just kind of minor cons. Like, I still recommend it. I still really liked the movie. But this is one, because in John Carpenter's The Thing, it wasn't just like one or two people. Like, it was still a group of people, and then they find, you know, the stuff with the Norwegian base and all that. With this, that's not the case. It's not a group of people. It's only like 2 guys. I think that would have been a bit. I think there could have been a lot more room to be really, really, really scary if there were more characters dealing with this situation. But there were still, and really that's when it starts getting to the climax, is when I started thinking about that. Is when I really started to think about that. When it started getting into her being in the form of his dead wife for the majority of the movie. Because honestly, when these 2 characters are together, like before the New Zealander knows what the situation is, there is some very good dialogue here, and there are some very good performances. These 2 guys are really damn good. The New Zealand guy, I believe he was in King Kong, Peter Jackson's King Kong, and I know there's something else I had seen him in. The other guy who plays the Nazi, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but he was really good, despite the fact that a majority of the time his accent sounded more British than it did a German accent. But anyway, I do recommend this movie. This is a really good rental. This is one that you can just randomly fucking pick out, not ever having heard of, and you will probably be very surprised. I certainly was. I was surprised by this movie. It does have some cons, but overall, I do recommend it. I will say that this is probably one of the more underrated horror flicks I've seen in a bit. At least within the past year or so. I mean, it does have its flaws, but it is a lot better. It is a lot better than a lot of the horror movies I've seen released theatrically. So do check it out. I totally recommend this movie. So see ya.